Hi everyone, this is Mrs. V. Chen. Welcome to my Form 5 Business Lesson 4. And today is 12 March 2020. And we are going to look at some of the DSE questions for capital investments appraisal. Okay, so therefore you can see this question is quite straightforward. You just name the method first, so which is payback period, and describe the meaning of payback period, which is evaluate the number of years required to cover the investments. But however, you need to write a little bit to describe. So how are you going to use payback period to make your decision saying to buy or to rent the shop? Okay, and then you just repeat this, another method, and the next method, and next method. Okay, so here is the explanation. All right, so for example, after you have named the method, okay, so payback period, and then you have to make decision whether to buy or to rent. What do you think? You choose a longer payback period or shorter payback period? Of course, we always choose a shorter payback period. That means, okay, if your calculation for payback period for buying is shorter than to rent, then your choice should be buying the premises instead of to rent the premises. Okay, so the second method is ARR, and the meaning is use accounting approach to calculate the return rates of the projects. And how are you going to use ARR to make your decision? So here, and then you have to calculate ARR if you buy, okay, and then you have to calculate ARR if you rent, and of course you choose a higher one. Okay, if to rent of ARR is higher than to buy, so therefore your choice should be to rent the premises instead of to buy the premises. Okay, so similarly, so how should you use net present value to make your decision? Of course, you should choose a higher one. Okay, and also the net present value must be a positive one. Okay, and finally, IRR stands for internal rates of return. Of course, you also choose a higher one. But to explain why IRR should be a higher one, I will use another DSE question to explain to you later. Okay, so after you have finished this question, I want you to make comparison. That is, you upgrade your handouts by compare the meaning in the marking scheme of the DSE to compare with the meaning in your handouts in order to upgrade your handouts. Okay, so the next question in 2019, we are given this condition. We are given costs of capital, which is 6%. And now we have to make decision based on internal rates of return, saying that whether we should accept the projects or reject the projects, okay? And the calculation of IRR is very complicated, so that we don't need to learn how to calculate. Therefore, we are given in the paragraph, okay, which is the third paragraph in the case, saying that IRR is 8%. Okay, so this 8% is higher than 6%, so therefore the project should be adopted. All right, so now let me explain to you why we accept the projects when IRR is bigger than 6%. Okay, now here, this is the formula for net present value, same as before. Okay, so if it is 6%, and saying that under what situation we accept the project when it is bigger than 0, when net present value is positive. Is that right? Okay. And then what is the idea about IRR? The idea of IRR is about we use the same formula, right? And then we set net present value equals to 0. So if we set this be 0, and then the IRR calculated from the formula is 8%. So therefore, what do you think? When it is 6%, it is already bigger than 0. Therefore, what about 8%? If it is 8%, of course, all right, it will be even bigger than when the cost of capital is 6%. So under this situation, IRR is bigger than cost of capital, so we should accept the project. So this is the conclusion. So if we have IRR bigger than cost of capital, saying that the project should be adopted. All right, so opposite. If IRR is smaller than cost of capital, so we should not accept the project, however, should be rejected. So this is how we make decision by using IRR, okay? Okay, in the same year, we have another straightforward question, which is about the limitations of each method. So this limitation is same as disadvantages, same as drawbacks. Okay, let's take a look at bank payback period and accounting rates of return. So we have two same disadvantages. They are ignoring time value of money and also ignore time value of money. So therefore, these two disadvantages will be advantages for net present value and IRR. Okay, so the second disadvantage for payback period, ignoring cash flows after the payback period. This is exactly opposite to using net present value, because for net present value, we consider all the cash flows after the payback period. Okay, so sometimes we make comparison between payback period and net present value. Okay, now we have the third disadvantage for using payback period, which is fail to indicate the absolute worth of the project. However, which method can show absolute worth of the project, which is net present value? So we can have this conclusion, which is disadvantages for payback period actually are the same as the advantages of using net present value. Okay, now the disadvantage of using accounting rates of return. The second one is ignore cash flows generated from the projects. Because when we calculate ARR, actually it is just similar to return on capital employed. So we have our return, which is net profits, same as our outputs, and this is the inputs. When we calculate, we just work out a percentage. So therefore, we don't know all the cash flows, how much cash flows being generated from the project. So this is one of the disadvantages for using ARR. And also, where do we get this net profits? We get net profit from income statement, and income statement to work out profits, which is manipulated. What is meaning of manipulated? Here is the meaning of manipulated. It means to control something to your advantage, often unfairly or dishonestly. And this is also one of the disadvantages of the income statements, because we have different accounting policies and different accounting methods that to control something which is unfairly when we do our calculation. So therefore, we have these three advantages for using accounting rates of return. Okay, so here we have disadvantage for using net present value, which is ignore the size of different projects. Okay, so how are we going to use net present value to make our choice? We always choose the one with the highest net present value, is that right? But sometimes the one with highest net present value may require the largest initial investment. So therefore, you can see this will increase our opportunity costs. So this is one of the disadvantage for using net present value. And also, here is the formula to use net present value. And what is the difficult? RO% is difficult to find, all right? And then here, so we may have the projects, okay, with highest net present value, however, last a longer time. So whenever the time is longer, the risk will be higher. So therefore, we have all these disadvantages for net present value. Okay, so for IRR, internal rates of return, we have this disadvantage saying fail to reflect the increase in the company's value. Why? Because we only focus on a percentage. So which method can show this increase in company's value, which is the net present value method. Okay, so the next one, we have it in 2017, and actually it should be question number 6 instead of question number 8, and we need to calculate payback period as well as net present value. Okay, here is the question. So Simon estimate that the initial outlay would be 4 million with a project life for 3 years, and also cost of capital 6%, and 1,420,000 will be the net cash flow in each year, and net cash flow is same as cash inflow minus cash outflow. Okay, so to calculate payback period, do you remember if you refer to example 1? We need this diagram. Okay, so here is the analysis. We have this column now, and then year 1, year 2, year 3. So initial outlay, negative, it means cash outflow at the very beginning, and cash inflow, Okay, and then you add another cumulative cash flow to work out the analysis. So you can see this is first initial outlay, and this cash inflow actually decrease the negative figure and decrease further up to year 3. Now you hear, look at this. Okay, we get a positive cash flow, right? So therefore, how long does it take to be equal to the initial investment? So it would be 2 years plus something. It means it is longer than 2 years, but less than 1 year. So how do we work out the exact dates? We put the last cash outflow to be covered with the following cash inflow. Okay, and then if you use your calculator, you get 2.82 years. Okay, so this is the way that we use payback period. So the key answer here, therefore you have 2.82 years. Okay, so however, when you look at this question, we have this net cash inflow being the same each year. So we say that there is a regular cash inflow. So actually we can use a faster method, that is how long, okay, this 4 million, okay, will be covered by 1,420,000 in each year. Okay, then you use your calculator to have this 4 million. So 4 million divided by 1,420,000. So you also get 2.82 years. Okay, so that means under what situation we can use the faster method? When we have in each year, okay, we get the same amounts of cash inflow, then you can just use the initial outlay to divide by the regular cash inflow. Okay, so this is calculation of payback period. Use a faster method, that is 4 million divided by 1,420,000. So only when you have regular cash inflow in each year. Okay, if you don't have regular cash inflow in each year, that means you must add another column. We call that cumulative cash flow column. Okay, as same as example 1. Okay, so after calculation of payback period, here C1, we calculate payback period. Now we need to calculate the net present value. Okay, so since net present value consider time value of money, so this time we need to consider 6%, and which is cost of capital. Okay, you just use the formula for using net present value. Okay, and here is the formula. So okay, discount this future value using cost of capital back to present. Okay, and how long is the project life? 3 years, and then minus initial investments. Okay, so and then if you use your calculator, you get a negative net present value. Okay, so you must practice this by using your calculator in order to avoid careless mistake. Okay, so what is our choice? So part D here, based on net present value, and then explain whether the robotic system project should be accepted. So what is your answer? Since it is okay negative, therefore the robotic system project should or should not be accepted. Should not. So here you put should not be accepted. Okay, so the final part, in part E, we have this: other than payback period and net present value, suggest and explain one other capital investment appraisal method for evaluating the robotic system. So this is very straightforward. So we have the other two, okay, which are accounting rates of return. Okay, 1 mark goes to this, and then write the meaning of accounting rates of return. Okay, so either one, or you name internal rates of return and then write down the meaning. So which is the discount rates at which the net present value of the project is 0. Okay, so this is the question in 2017. Okay, so the next question in 2013, question number 8. So we need to calculate payback period. All right, so here is the question for payback period. Okay, inside the box, Okay, according to my estimation, the initial installation will cost 12 million and the net cash flows will be 4 million per year. Okay, now here D1 to calculate payback period. All right, so since each year we have the same amounts of cash inflow, therefore we can skip the table for payback period, we can skip the column for cumulative cash flow. So what we need to do is to start with this initial outlay. Okay, so here I have initial outlay 12 million. Okay, and then each year we have the same amounts, the regular cash inflow. So this is the faster way to work out payback period if we have regular cash inflow each year, right? Okay, so D2, give 2 reasons why it is not appropriate to use payback period. Therefore, what do you think? The answer is exactly same as disadvantages or the limitations of using payback period, and that would be fine. So here is the answer, same as limitation and disadvantages for using payback period. Okay, so E1, so after payback period, we need to calculate net present value, and given this costs of capital, which is same as discount rates. Okay, now here is the step. Okay, so we have cash inflow and discounted back to present in year 2, year 3, and minus initial outlay. Then you use your calculator, see whether you agree with this key answer or not. Okay, let's take a look at this figure. This is positive. Okay, since net present value is positive, so what is our choice? Adopted should be. So the project should be adopted. Okay, so next we do practice paper, and which is question number 8. Okay, and here is the question. So we have 2 products. One is high-priced version, one is low-priced version. So for high-priced version, we are already given net present value and payback period. Okay, and then what is the thing that we have to calculate? B here. All right, we need to calculate number 1, payback period, and also the net present value for low-priced version. So that means we need to find these 2 question marks. Okay, so to calculate payback period and for low-priced version. So you look at this cash inflow, which is not the same, which is not regular, is that right? So therefore, we must need this column, which is cumulative cash flow, to analyze step by step. So negative means cash outflow, and this is also cash outlay. So we have this negative, all right? And this is cash inflow 30. 30 decrease the negative and change it to negative 40. And 50 decrease the negative. Okay, so from this to this, it changed from negative to positive. So therefore, we can stop here. So how long do we need to wait? Okay, it will be more than 1 year, but less than 2 years. Okay, so therefore, what is the step for payback period here? So that will be more than 1 year. So I have 1 year here plus. Okay, so how do we analyze? So the last negative, which is 40 million, over the coming cash inflow, which is 50 million, so that I can get the exact dates. So if you use your calculator, 4 divided by 5 and then plus 1, so that the answer is 1.8 years will be the payback period. Okay, so now be careful. If your cash inflow is not regular, then you need this cumulative cash flow column to do the analysis. Okay, so next, how do we calculate net present value? So this time we need to consider cost of capital, because net present value consider time value of money. So that therefore we need to go through this, or we need to discount all this future value into present value. Okay, so this is the step, right? So in the first year, second year, third year, fourth year, and minus initial investments. Okay, you must use your calculator to practice in order to avoid any careless mistake. Okay, and see whether you agree with this as the answer for net present value. Okay, so next we have a very special question in 2012, question number 8, which is identify the variables of the net present value formula. Okay, so before we look at that, let's look at the meaning of variables, which is an element or feature or factor that is liable to vary. To vary means not the same. To vary means to change. Okay, now here is the formula for net present value. Okay, so I naught means what? I naught means initial outlay. So what about if we have a different figure for I naught? So therefore net present value will not be the same. So therefore I naught is one of the variables. Okay, so similarly, so this cash flows means future value means all the cash inflows and cash outflow. Okay, they are subject to change, right? If we have a different value for this future value, then net present value will not be the same. So therefore, cash flows also one of the variables. Okay, all right, and this discount rate, is this R%? So if we use a larger or higher R%, net present value will be smaller. If we use a smaller R%, net present value will be bigger, so that you can see R% is also another variable. So what do we call R%? It is same as discount rates, same as cost of capital, same as this and same as this. Okay, and then project life, so which is N. N here, 3 years, 5 years, 4 years give us different net present value. So project life is also one of the variables. And of course, finally, all right, the calculation for net present value after discounting all the future value, we may get a positive figure, we may get a negative figure. So if it is positive, then saying that it is worth to invest. And negative means we should not accept the project, however, to reject it. Okay, so this is about the variables of the net present value formula. Okay, so next one, in sample paper, we have a very special question and also difficult as well. Okay, so here is the question. The question is about based on the present value calculation. Now be very careful. We don't have the word nets. So therefore, we don't need to compare the cash inflow with initial investments. That is the first thing. And then the second thing, if you look at the information here, okay, so this is very, very important. This is about all made at the beginning of the respective year. So therefore, I need to draw you the timeline. Okay, so here is the timeline. Year 0, year 1, year 2, year 3. So what is the meaning of year 1? Year 1 actually means the end of year 1. Agree with me? And which is same as the beginning of year 2. Okay, so therefore, what about year 0? Year 0 here means the beginning of year 1. Therefore, first year ends at the beginning of the first year, actually, which is now and which is at present. Okay, so here is at present, same as beginning of year 1. So therefore, when we do calculation here, 100,000, the first year, we don't need to discount back because it is already at present. Okay, so the second year, the beginning of second year actually is same as the end of year 1. So the power should be 1 instead of 2. So be very, very careful about this. Okay, so the third year, and also this is the beginning. So the beginning of third year actually is same as the end of year 2. So that the power is 2 here. Okay, so this is the most special thing in this question about this time it is at the beginning instead of at the end. Okay, then you use your calculator, you get this much. So 304,000 and something. Okay, which will be the figure for if you hire a professional trainer to provide in-house training. You need this much. So this is your costs. And then you compare these costs with the cost given to you here. So it will be what? Hire the service of a training consultancy so that you pay this much. Okay, so that when you compare for the cost you need to pay, you should choose a lower one. Okay, so therefore, as the present value of employing a training professional is this much, less than this amount, So the cost of hiring a training consultancy fee firm, the company should or should not choose to employ, choose to employ an in-house training professional because the cost is cheaper. Okay, so after calculation, we have used this financial factor saying that we choose the one that costs less, all right? However, if you look at D, discuss two other non-financial factors. So this time, we don't look at money. We don't look at the amounts. With some other things we should consider. Okay, so look at the amount here. Even though this is smaller, but 300,000 is not a small amount to the business, right? So the problem is about to solve the problem of low staff morale. So that's why we give people training. So therefore, what things you have to consider? You have to consider whether you have enough money to pay for it or not. So that here, the company is faced with tight cash position. That means if you do not have enough cash, so that you should not think about to spend this much money on training of your staff. And also the opportunity cost is high. If it is too high, therefore you should not consider to train your staff or not. Okay, so this is about non-financial factor to make the decision. Okay, so I have a typo here, so can you change that to suggest non-financial factor that will not make the decision based on the present value results, okay? Now we come to the last question, which is in 2018 question number 6, okay? And here is the question number 6. We have this, we are given accounting rates of return, 12%. Which is higher than the company's required rates of return. So in the normal situation, if this is higher than the required rates of return, usually we should accept the project. However, net present value is negative. So therefore, which one we follow? We should follow net present value because which is negative. Okay, so what is your choice? The choice should be here. The project should not be accepted because the net present value is negative. And what happens if you have negative net present value? Okay, after doing the projects, okay, we have less. We have decrease in net worth of the company. Okay, no good, very bad. Or you can use another reason to explain it. That is about the disadvantage for accounting rates of return, which is what? Ignores the time value of money. Okay, so, and then finally, we have this, explain two non-financial factors that will support the installation of robotic arms. So even though we should not accept the projects because net present value is negative. However, if you look at this, do we have any other non-financial factors to consider in order to install the robotic arms? Then we need to look at the background of the company. This is a logistic firm. And employees, they have to deliver packages, and very often those packages are so heavy, so they have this problem. Some people, they quit their job because they have back injuries and muscle pain. So what do you think? Even though this is negative, okay, I think we should have some point to consider that, right? That is, okay, if you care about your staff and then you don't want to get injured, so this is the reason. So reducing injuries to the staff. So therefore, even though it is negative, you still install robotic arms. And also, if you care about your employees, you want to strengthen your staff morale, you install robotic arms. And this is also one of the issues related to social responsibility. Okay, so therefore, if you care about that, this will increase your reputation of your firm. Okay, so it should be reputation, R-E-P-U-T-A-T-I-O-N. Okay, so that's about all the DSE question in this chapter, Capital Investments Appraisal. So thanks for watching my video. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.